Hello, my friends, and welcome to another devotional connection. I hate beating a dead horse, and I have spoken on 1 Samuel 30 several times. But the verses are so very rich that every time I go through it again, another piece of the story sticks out to me, and I want to share. So we know about David encouraging himself in the Lord in verse 6, and we know about God's promise that if he pursued his enemy, not only would he overtake them, but he would recover all. We know that David started with 600 men, and 200 of them were left behind because of fatigue. We know that he went on with the 400 men. He was 3 days behind. He caught up with his assailants. He fought all night and all day until the next evening and did, in fact, recover all, just as God said he would. But after that, still more happened. 1 Samuel verse 30, 21 through 25 states it like this. Then David came to the 200 men who had been too exhausted to follow him and were left behind at the Bezer Valley. They came out to meet David and the men with him. As David and his men approached, he asked them how they were. But all the evil men and troublemakers among David's followers said, "Because they did not go out with us, we will not share with them the plunder we recovered. However, each man may take his wife and children and go." David replied, "No, my brothers, you must not do that with what the Lord has given us. He has protected us and delivered into our hands the raiding party that came against us. Who will listen to what you say? The share of the man who stayed with the supplies is to be the same as of him who went down to the battle. All will share alike." David made this statute and ordinance for Israel from that day to this. When you read this, I see something that we need in our journey even today. David had men who did not want those who were too tired to complete the journey to share in the spoils of war. They started off the journey ready to go to battle for their loved ones, but because of fatigue couldn't see it through to the end. Whether it was frustration, anger, or pure selfishness, there were some men who were starting the argument that those who didn't go shouldn't get anything. David did what I wish leaders of today would do. He didn't shrink away from the conversation. He spoke up and spoke out against the notion of their evil intent. He not only set the precedent of how the Lord's provision should be shared, but the statute and shining example that he left still holds today. I have seen teams win championships under a new first-year coach and still give a ring to the previous coach because it was them that laid the foundation that the new coach built upon. I have seen people take their hard-earned money in the grocery store and purchase or cover the bill for someone who didn't have enough. I have seen people pay the copay for a single mother with a sick child in the hospital so their child could be seen and attended to when she didn't have. David not only stepped up to the plate with his words, but he followed through with his actions and set an example for all of Israel and ultimately all of us as well. He gets his example from Jesus, who left all of heaven with all the riches and glory and came down to attend to his children and free us from the tyranny of sin, hell, death, and the devil. He didn't leave us to our own devices. He stepped up to the plate and made a way. I glean a few things from these verses, but none more important than these two. Your voice is needed, and your actions can have far-reaching effects. Step up to evil, set an example for others to follow, and then your actions must match his love for all. May God bless you today. Talk to you again soon.